Welcome to this walkthrough guide on how to use Google Apps script with Google Sheets. Are you tired of manually copying and pasting data between sheets? Do you dream of automating repetitive tasks in Google Sheets, but feel like you need a coding degree in order to do it? Maybe you're spending hours each week on tasks that could be done with a few lines of code, freeing you up for more important work. If any of that sounds familiar, then you're in the right place. Google Apps Script is the key to unlocking the true power of Google Sheets, and it's much easier to learn than you might have originally thought. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you exactly how to use Apps Script, even if you've never written a line of code before. We'll cover everything from writing your first simple script to automating complex workflows. Get ready to transform the way you work with Google Sheets. And to make it easier to follow along, you'll find all of the code used in this video in a doc linked in the description below. Alright, let's dive right in. The first thing we need to do is access the script editor. This is where all of the coding magic happens. So, first things first, make sure you have a Google Sheet open. Now take a look at the top menu bar. You'll see options for File, Edit, and View. We're looking for extensions. So go ahead and click on Extensions. A drop-down menu will appear and you'll see an option called Apps Script. Go ahead and click on that. This will open up a new window or a tab in your browser. This is the Google Apps Script editor. I know it can look a bit intimidating at first, especially if you're new to coding, but don't worry, we're going to take it one step at a time. Notice that it automatically creates a file named code.gs. The .gs extension stands for Google Script. This is where we'll write our code. You'll also see that there's a function already there called myFunction. We're going to be using this. Let's start by writing our first line of code. Inside those curly braces, which define the body of the function, the part that actually does something, we're going to use a built-in command called logger.log. Type it exactly like this. Now let's break this code down piece by piece. Logger with a capital L is an object in Apps Script. You can think of an object as a collection of tools and actions that are related to a specific thing. In this case, the logger object deals with logging information. Basically, writing messages to a special area where we can see exactly what our script is doing. The dot after logger means we're accessing something inside that object. And then log is the method of the logger object. A method is like an action or a command that the object can perform. So logger.log is like saying, "Hey logger, I want you to use your log action." Now inside the parentheses, we have hello world. This is called a string, which is basically just a piece of text. The single quotes tell Apps Script that this is text, not code. So the whole line, logger.log hello world, basically means write the text hello world to the log. Now this is a classic first program in many coding languages. It's basically just a simple way to see something happen. Now before we run this, we need to save our script. But before we even do that, let's give our project a name. Double-click on the untitled project name at the top and enter in what you would like to call your project. Let's call it My First Script. You can also use spaces in the project name without issue. Click Rename, and then click on the Save icon, the one that looks like the little floppy disk. Okay, now we're ready to run. Click on the Run button, it's that triangular play icon. This is going to run myFunction. But where did our hello world go? We need to look at the execution log. A panel should have appeared at the bottom of the script editor. And there it is. You should see hello world printed in the log. If you don't see the execution log, you can simply click on execution log up here to toggle it open. Congratulations! You've just written and run your first app script code. You've told the computer to do something, and it did it. Now, let's make our script actually interact with our spreadsheet, not just write to a log. We're going to learn how to read data from a cell and write data to a cell. These are fundamental skills for almost anything that you'll want to do with AppScript and Google Sheets. First, go back to your Google Sheet, the one that we opened the script editor from. In cell A1, that's the very first cell, top left, type the text AppScript is awesome. Just type it in and press enter. Now switch back to the script editor. We're going to modify our myFunction function. We'll keep the logger.log section for now, but we're going to change what's inside the parentheses. Replace hello world with this. Now I know that it looks like a lot, but we're going to break it down step by step. Just like Logger, Spreadsheet App is another built-in object in AppScript. This one is all about interacting with your spreadsheets. getActiveSpreadsheet is a method that, as the name suggests, gets the currently active spreadsheet, the one you have open. getActiveSheet then gets the sheet that's currently active within that spreadsheet, usually the one that you're looking at, the first tab, unless you've switched to another tab. getRange A1 is crucial. This is how we tell AppScript which cell or cells that we want to work with. We're using what's called A1 notation here. A1 refers to column A, row 1. You could also specify a range of cells like A1 to B10. That would be all cells from A1 all the way through to B10. Finally, getValue is another method. It gets the value that's currently in the cell or cells that we specified with getRange. So the whole line now means go to the active spreadsheet, get the active sheet, get the cell A1, and get its value. Then log that value. So let's give it a run. Click on the Run button. A small dialog box might pop up saying Review Permissions. This is super important. AppScript is very powerful, and it can access your Google Sheet data. So Google needs to make sure that you trust this script. So click on Review Permissions. You'll see a window asking you to choose an account. Make sure that you select the Google account that you're using for this Google Sheet. Then you're going to see a warning screen. This is just Google's way of being extra cautious. It might even say that the app isn't verified. This is completely normal for scripts that you write yourself. Click on the Advanced option, then click on Go to My First Script, Unsafe. I know that it says unsafe, but that's simply because Google hasn't reviewed your personal code. It's safe though because you wrote it. And to be honest, it's very simple. Finally, click Continue to grant the script permission to access your Google Sheets data. Now, the script will run. Now you might not see anything happen visually in the spreadsheet, but check the logs. You should see AppScript is awesome printed there. Our script has successfully read the data from cell A1. Now, let's write something to the spreadsheet. We'll add another line of code below the one that we just wrote. Go ahead and type this. This is very similar to the previous line. We're still using Spreadsheet App, getActiveSpreadsheet, and getActiveSheet, but this time we're using getRange B1. We're targeting cell B1 now. And instead of getValue, we're using setValue. As you might guess, setValue sets the value of the specified cells. Inside the parentheses, we provide the value that we want to write, again, as a string enclosed in single quotes. Run the script again, and then switch back to your spreadsheet. Take a look at cell B1. You should now see, I learned something new. Our script has successfully wrote data to the spreadsheet. Think about the possibilities. You could use this to read data from one cell, perform some calculations on it, and then write the result to another cell. You could copy data from one sheet to another, or even from one spreadsheet to a completely different spreadsheet. This get value and set value are the foundation for so much automation. Now let's make our scripts easier to run by adding a custom menu to our spreadsheet. Go ahead and add this code to your script outside of the myFunction function. OnOpen is a special function that runs automatically when the spreadsheet is first opened. It's called a simple trigger, a simple function that runs automatically under specified conditions. In this case, it runs every time the spreadsheet is opened. Spreadsheet app getUI gets the spreadsheet's user interface. In this case, UI stands for user interface. This is how we interact with the menus, dialog boxes, and other visual elements on the spreadsheet. UI create menu, my custom menu, is going to create a new menu with the name my custom menu. Add item, run my function adds an item to that menu. The first part is the text that will appear in the menu, and the second part is the name of the function to run when that item is clicked. These correspond directly to the menu text and the function name that add to UI adds to the menu in your spreadsheet. Save the script and now refresh your spreadsheet. It's super important to refresh because OnOpen function only runs when the spreadsheet is first loaded. You should now see a new menu item called My Custom Menu. Click on it and then select Run My Function. Your script will run just like when you click the Run button in the script editor, but now it's much more convenient. Often, you'll want to perform the same action on multiple cells. That's where loops come in handy. A loop is about doing something repeatedly. Think of it like stamping a stack of envelopes or filling a row of water glasses. Let's say that we want to number rows 1 through 10 in column A. Here's how we can do it with a for loop. Replace the code in myFunction with this. And just like before, let's break this down. For is the keyword that starts a for loop. Inside the parentheses, we have 3 parts separated by semicolons. First, we have var I equals 1. This initializes a counter variable. var declares a variable. I is a common convention for loop counters, and equals assigns the initial value, in this case 1. Next, I is less than or equal to 10. This is the condition. It's a Boolean expression, meaning it results in either true or false. The loop will continue as long as the condition equals true. Lastly, we have I++. This increments I by 1 after each iteration. It's essentially shorthand for I equals I plus 1. Inside the curly braces, we now have the code that will run for each iteration. This code is similar to what we did before, but now we're using I to specify the row number. This is the key. The I is being used to dynamically change the row number in each iteration. So in the first iteration, I is 1, and it will set the value of cell A1 to 1. In the second iteration, I is 2, and we set the value in the cell A2 to 2, and so on. The code inside the curly brackets is executed repeatedly once for each value of I. So go ahead and run this script. You should see the column A populated with numbers 1 through to 10. Sometimes though, you only want to do something if a certain condition is met. And that's where if-else statements come in. You can think of it like, if it's raining, I'll take an umbrella, otherwise I won't. Or to be honest, if you're anything like me, you'll just forget your umbrella anyway. Let's say though that we want to highlight cells in column B that are greater than 5. First, let's add some numbers to column B, some greater than 5 and some less than 5. Now go ahead and add this function. Let's also add a menu item to easily call this function. by adding this to the onOpen function inside the UI Create menu section, separated by a period. Now don't forget to save the script and then reload the spreadsheet. Let's now break down the code. var sheet and var last row define our variables. Last row gets the last row with any data. Using this command means the script will work dynamically with any number of entries, and they won't need to be manually added. We then start a for loop. var cell value gets the cell value. Then, if cell value is greater than 5, checks if the value of the cell is greater than 5. This is our if statement. If the condition is true, the following code is then executed. If it is, the code inside the first set of curly braces is executed. Sheet get range set background to yellow will set the background color of that cell to yellow. The comparison operator greater than checks the value. Else then specifies what to do if the condition is not met. Note that the else block is optional. In this case, sheet get range set background white would then set the background color to white. Now call the function using that menu item that we created. You'll see the cells greater than 5 then get highlighted in yellow. You can also make your scripts run automatically on a schedule using triggers. Triggers are basically like setting an alarm for your script. They allow you to run your code automatically without any manual intervention. There are many types of triggers, but we're going to focus specifically on time-driven ones for this example. Let's say we want our highlight cells function to run every hour. In the script editor, click the triggers icon. It looks kind of like a clock in the left sidebar. Click on Add Trigger. In the Choose Which Function to Run dropdown, select Highlight Cells. In the Select Event Source, choose Time Driven, and then in Select Type of Time-Based Trigger, choose Hour Timer. And then finally, in the Select Hour Interval, choose Every Hour. Then simply click on Save. Now you might need to authorize the script again at this point. Now though, your script will run automatically every hour, highlighting cells in column B that are greater than 5, without you having to do anything. As you can see, AppScript can do a lot. It can actually even send emails. This is incredibly useful for sending notifications, reports, or even automated responses. Let's go ahead now and add this function. And just like always, let's break it down. var recipient sets the recipient. For this example, be sure to replace this with your own email. var subject is the email subject. And then var body is the message that you will receive. Note that HTML can be used here for further formatting. Mail app send email recipient subject body is the command to send the message using the variables that we defined above. Mail app is the object for interacting with mail. Add another menu item in the onOpen with add item send email, send email. Save the script and then reload your spreadsheet. Now go ahead and run this function from your custom menu. As this is the first time that we have requested to use the Mail app object, Google is going to perform the same request as we saw earlier for permissions. This is simply because AppScript is only ever going to request the permissions it needs at that time and nothing more. Once you have granted the permissions, you can then check your inbox. You should have received an email. You can even potentially customize the recipient, subject, and body based on data that's in your spreadsheet, making this incredibly powerful. For example, you could have a list of email addresses in your spreadsheet, loop through them, and send a personalized email to each person, pulling data from different cells to customize the message. Just be mindful though of email sending limits and best practices. You don't want to accidentally go out spamming everyone. AppScript handles email sending securely. But as a general good practice, it is wise to avoid putting sensitive information directly into the script code. And wow, we've covered a lot. We've learned how to access the script editor, write basic functions, work with data in our spreadsheet using getValue and setValue, created custom menus to run our scripts easily, used for loops to repeat actions, used if-else statements to make decisions in our code, set up time-based triggers to run scripts automatically, and even sent emails using Mail app. And believe it or not, these are just the building blocks, the fundamental concepts. There is so much more that you can do with AppScript. The best way to really learn it though is to experiment for yourself. Don't be afraid to try things out. Take the examples that I've covered in this tutorial and modify them. Change the cell ranges, change the values, change the conditions in the if statements. See what happens. And here is an additional crucial point. You don't have to memorize all of this code or become a JavaScript expert overnight. Google provides some fantastic documentation for AppScript. I'll also include a link in the description below. It's incredibly detailed, with explanations and examples of just about everything that AppScript can do. It's a great resource for learning more about specific methods and objects. But there's another incredibly helpful tool that you can also use, especially when you're starting out. AI tools like Google Gemini. If you have an idea for something that you want to automate in Google Sheets, but you're not sure how to write the code, you can actually just describe your idea to Gemini or other AI tools like ChatGPT. Ask it something like, can I use Google AppScript to automatically send an email when a specific cell in my spreadsheet changes? Or how can I write an app script to copy data from one sheet to another if a checkbox is checked? Gemini can often generate example code for you, which you can then copy, paste, and adapt to your specific needs. Think of it like having your own personal coding assistant. It's a fantastic way to get started, and personally, it's how I learnt as well. As you start using the code that Gemini or other AI tools provide, you'll naturally start to understand how it works. You'll begin to see the patterns, you'll learn the keywords, and you'll gradually build your own coding skills. You'll be learning JavaScript almost without realizing it. So don't feel overwhelmed. You have the tools, the resources, and even AI assistants to help you on your journey. The possibilities with Google AppScript are truly amazing. And remember, do not be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how we learn. Debugging, that's finding and fixing errors, is a huge part of coding. The execution log in the script editor is going to be your best friend here. It will show you error messages that can help you pinpoint problems. So to get started, just open up any Google Sheet, go to Extensions, and then AppScript. That's all it takes to begin your AppScript journey. Happy scripting, and I'll catch you in my next video. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to check out the channel. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.